Hey y'all, it's finally time to talk about the books that I read in September. It is now October the 16th, so, maybe a little past due, and I thought I would not be able to get the giveaway winner on this video because I was like, or I'll have to do it in separate, change of clothes because separate days, but I legitimately just haven't filmed it yet. So there's that. And if it's your first time here, I hope that you enjoy the babble about the books that I read in September. And this video might be shorter than most of the wrap-ups because it's only 9 books to talk about. I read quite a bit less last month. I need to go unplug the cat's water probably. I can hear it. You might can hear it. So we'll be right back to start the list. Yeah, I mean, you could barely hear it because it is kind of full, but it gets loud when it's not quite full, but I could still hear the tinkling sounds. So I was like, let's just unplug it. She'll be fine. She's napping right now, unless she decides to join us again. Yeah, our cat's bougie. She has her own little water fountain. She likes to drink from the sinks. Even still, she'll come up and whine to us and say, turn on the sink. But our analytics for September, let's go ahead and get into that. Total, like I said, we only read 9 books. Yeah, and that still took me all month to finish that. Yeah, I don't know. It was nice though, taking my time kind of again and making sure I got all my reviews written for them, which I'm not doing as great in October, and I have read even less books than normal right now. But September, we read only 2 that were above 4 stars, 2 4 stars, 3 books that were 3 stars and above, and there was 1 2-star book. The types of formats, we had 4 physical, with one of them being a physical audio mix, 3 straight audio, 2 ebooks, which one of the ebooks was ebook audio mix. And yeah, most of the books I borrowed from the library, so this is the only booger I have to hold up. Booger. I don't know why I just called it that. And based off the poll from last week, you guys said that if you do tab, you leave these in forever. It's not a special edition book, so I guess it's okay. But I noticed on one that I tabbed that then I was selling to get, because I didn't want to keep it. I was like, oh, these tabs leave stickies. So I was afraid, and I wanted to ask and see, like, is this a good idea to leave them in the book long term? And I did pull it out of my special edition of Children of Ruin because it's special edition, and look at those sprayed edges. I shouldn't mar the sprayed edges with tabbies. But the first book that I finished in September, and the one that was the best book of the month at 4.5 stars, is Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. I did the full video review for this one, so please go check it out because I think this book was awesome, and October is going to be an awesome time to read it too. This book though focuses on the circle of friends who were on a child's show in the 90s. So it brings back, all of those kid show vibes of like fun and adventure and stuff. But the show got shut down after an accident, and now 30 years later-ish, they're all roughly in their 30s, the friends have been separated trying to have normal lives, and suddenly they are brought back together for this reunion podcast thing. And they have to figure out what happened in the show back then, why it got shut down, what's happening now with the podcast, because this weird thing about the show is there is no listing for who the production company was, no listing of directors, anything like that, and you cannot find any episodes anywhere online. And there's like Reddit threads and everything about who the circle of friends really were and what really happened and what the name of the show even was. Yeah. And through the book, there is a mixed media sort of format as the in-between chapters, because you'll have your regular chapters, but then you will have the threads from a Reddit post or an email or an audio transcript. Who is the thing? Trying to figure out, like, okay, who is Mr. Magic? Because that's the biggest question, who or what is Mr. Magic? And just trying to really figure it out through the book. And my guesses of like, oh my God, this is what it is. And I was so close. I was really, really close. So go check out the video though for more about the best book of the month. The next one was an audiobook. It's the second in the series. It's Well Played by Jen DeLuca. I want to say that's the author's name. I did not actually write that down. I just wrote the name and I didn't put the cover picture. So yeah, this is the second though in the I don't remember what the series is called, but it's all surrounding a Renaissance fair. It might be the Willow Creek series at Willow Creek Massachusetts, Maine. I think the state starts with an M, but each one is following a different couple because it's like a cutesy romance thing. But I love the Renaissance fair aspect of it, and this one also has the long distance thing because like they really fall in love over messages, and like our main character Stacy thinks that she is talking with someone else that she has met and kind of had a hookup relationship with at the fair before, and after too many drinks and a message that she kind of regrets the next morning, but he does message her back after the fair has already moved to another town. And so over the course of the next year, they're messaging back and forth, getting closer until it's Renaissance fair time again, and these people are coming back to perform at the fair again because they're a group of traveling musicians. Something about kilts. That's what I remember. And Stacy is just really feeling lost at this point in her life. She moved back to Willow Creek after college because her mom had a heart attack and it was really bad and had to do a lot of recovery from that. So she's just feeling like stuck in her life as she's seeing everybody else move on, which I can understand that, and I can get her feeling of like not having any connections outside of online. But at the same time, she did have real friends with like Emily and everything in town. And yet throughout the whole book, Stacy is kind of keeping this growing relationship from Emily and hiding, when she was feeling upset, and like, she's your friend. You can tell her how you're feeling. You shouldn't have kept this to yourself. I get it, especially like the day of the wedding and around the wedding time and everything, you didn't want to like worry her. You had a whole year though. And you telling her this, like you didn't want to worry her with this, would have probably distracted her from the wedding and her worrying about that. So, yeah, that was my only complaint. Like, she wasn't really being a great friend by not revealing her own struggle here. Or her happiness. When she was incredibly happy, she still wasn't telling anybody. Still a cute book, and I will continue with the rest of the quartet. I don't know, maybe next year, but I don't really also want to read like one every September. It's 4 years to finish it, so I might do 2 books next year. My next one was a sci-fi, and this was the e-book, audiobook. Why did I have a weird pause there? Combination of Old Man's War by John Scalzi. This one got 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one and the concept of it. There were some sad bits though, of course, throughout, but it is totally not how I described it in my TBR for September, because I was like, they recruit old people because of overpopulation, which yes, kind of the world does have too many peoples. But at 75 years old, you can join up with the Colonial Defense Force and will be transported out into the universe to help protect the colonies of Earth out there. However, nobody on Earth knows how this interstellar travel works. Like, the CDF people do not let the Earth governments know anything. And that's like nuts. I was like, okay, that's crazy. And they recruit at 75 because as like all the people, all the older people are like, well, they must have a way to make us young again. And it is something like that. So you get this whole second chance at life once you go out there, and you get to be useful to humanity again. Which, I mean, of course, there could be people over that age that are useful, but like in the book, you get to go have this whole other life and, be this whole other person now out there. They do have a very high mortality rate though, because they are, at war, because we are humans. And for one of the instances, the fact that we are at war with them is weird. It's unusually cruel seeming. And the whole reason it started is because we were on a planet and our people got sick with disease and had to leave. And these people, which have a very similar makeup to us, except they're like this big, they came to the planet and it didn't affect them at all. And then we tried to come back and like, this is ours. And they're like, no, it's ours. Their civilization though, their civilization is like a miniature town we could build. So all of theirs, even if they were across the planet, would be like, why couldn't we just cohabitate? Why? So, yeah. But overall, I really liked the book. I will continue on with the series. I liked our main character. I like John Scalzi's books pretty much. Overall, I just like them. Unfortunately, next is the worst book of the month. This is All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Herman? Maybe? I don't know. It was the 2.5 stars. This is the conclusion of the duology with all of us villains. I like that one. I like the concept of it, like with, you know, the battling and the families and the teenagers just wanting to end it and, like, you know, actually work together and don't want to be murdering their friends. And the extra layers and stuff. But this one just drug on so very long. I was like having to make myself finish it. And then I get to the end and it's just so unsatisfying. It's just, oh my God. And the sprinklings of the romance aspect for one of them are like, oh, I always, you know, wanted to have to fight between killing and kissing you. What? Like before this book, there was none of that at all. No. And even it took till partway through the book before it trying to add those tensions, which is fine if they wanted to make them a couple, but you definitely can't add in those lines like that if there was nothing showing before that part of those feelings at all. The second best book of the month is The Deep Sky by Yumi Kitse. I also did a review on this one too, so see, the best books of the month got reviews. This was not a planned review. More so, I just could not stop thinking about the things about this book. I might have babbled a lot in this review, and then I know I had to cut a lot of it out because I would start going into spoilers outside of the spoiler section. And I'm like, so in editing, I'm like, oh dear, cut. But this book, we follow Asuka as she was picked to represent Japan on I won't say last ditch effort, but you know, kind of, to save the planet as these 80 crew members are sent to Planet X. And halfway there, they have been awoken for weird reasons, but on a spacewalk, there's an explosion and now they have been knocked off course, so Asuka has to find the bomber and, you know, find a way to get them back on course. Well, that's not really her job, but, you know, and, you know, make sure she's not being blamed for it. Now, the description of this book will tell you that she has to clear her name. It's like she's immediately blamed. This is not true. The captain actually goes to Asuka and asks her to do the investigation to find out who did this once they do discover that it was a bomb. So, yeah. I really like the way AI played into this though, because it is sometime in the future. So they have an implant to keep them kind of from going crazy and missing home. Going crazy, that was a bad word. But they have an implant to where they can live in their own virtual environment pretty much. Like they're part of everything around them. Like awake, they see everybody else, but it's projected around what their perfect picturesque place is. So this does serve to kind of make everybody live in their own bubbles and not really see and interact with each other quite as much. And so self-isolation is kind of a thing. And this book's emotions that it dives into of lots of different topics is incredible. There were just so many practical problems though. So many practical problems with the way things were done and planned to be done. But go check out the review for that one to hear those things. Yes. And I do believe it will be a standalone. Next, I read Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. And this one is actually a novella. Did I know it was a novella going in? No. But it still came out 4 stars because it is a retelling that took a very, very different look at the story. And it was so amusing. And you really felt for Toadling, and especially the end where the hare told her, yeah, it took you long enough. And I'm like, oh man, that it might have been a spoiler, but you know, you don't really know what it's in context to, so I'm going to say it's not. But I really felt for her, but she just moved on. She didn't take it badly. And yeah, it was just a very different take as you follow Toadling, who is taken by fairies at birth and raised. Thankfully, you know, they chose to raise her instead of, who is she raised by? Not Kelpies, some water type fairy though, and they name her Toadling. And then they come back when she is an adult and say, okay, I need you to do this. Like, well, the goddess that brought her there, she comes back and says, I need you to do this because, we let you live here. This is a favor needed by you. And she's supposed to go place a blessing on a baby. And the baby turns out to be the changeling of her, because actually it's only been like 3 or 4 days in the mortal world while Toadling's grown up. And 200, 300, 400 years later is where most of the story actually takes place, though, as it does go back and forth and piece together, what happened back then, what happened since then, and play out from there. And it was just a very cute, dark story. Not dark, but slightly twisted. Definitely means I shall read more of the works of this author, though. Then I got to read an arc called Night of the Witch by Sarah Brock and Beth Rivas. In this one, we follow 2 characters, Fritzy and Otto. One is a witch, and the other one is a Hexenjäger, which are the witch hunters. And this takes, oh God, I don't remember the years that it takes place, in the 1500s, I believe, in Germany. And Fritzy is one of the last of her covens, and she is on a desperate hunt to rescue her young cousin from the Hexenjägers. And Otto is trying to take down the Hexenjägers from the inside after he saw his mother be burned to death as a witch, and she wasn't. And so he really shows the corruption of it, which, kind of relates back to what really happened, because they do take place in this town that did have this monumental burning back then. So the authors did take bits of real history and lore and weave it into the story as they try to, have things happen. I did not see the end of the book, the twist that it was going to come there, so that was quite interesting. However, my one problem with this book kind of is that it is YA marketed, and yet there will be this heavy romance scene that happens toward the end of the book. So yeah, I didn't like that. But for the rest of the book, it does read really, really YA, as Fritzy and Otto are fighting their feelings for each other, of course, but as he's trying to hold up his mission, and he totally falls for her first. But he sees her and he sees that she's good, and he's never actually met a real witch before, Fritzy, and he's like, oh gosh, there are real witches. But he's like, but these people are still bad, wrong, evil. They persecute innocent people way more than they do find actual witches. So it was interesting. I will say that. It was a 3.5 stars overall. Next, I got the audiobook for Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Meyer. This was a 3.75 stars. If you get the audiobook, just be prepared that the voice will not change between your 2 main characters, because you do see through both characters. Evie, who's the assistant, and the villain. She doesn't change her voice. It's quite disconcerting. It's quite disconcerting. Otherwise, though, this book was so funny and sweet, and I feel like Evie's takes are what, well, I relate to it. I feel like most of us, about like, oh, he's hot, but I shouldn't think he's hot because he's the villain. And she totally couldn't tell that, he was acting different around her because maybe he had feelings for her. And even when they kissed, she's like, oh, this must be so awful for him to have to pretend. But the book is apparently the first, and I did not know that going in. So the ending kind of caught me off guard. So if you read this book, think of it as like a season of a show, except it's from the beginning until like the mid-season. It feels like a mid-season finale at the end of the book, not like the season finale. So yeah, that was a little odd. I really, though, I liked the hijinks of this book, I guess you would say, as Evie has gotten used to working for a villain, and the fact that it's like he has his own office set up and regular workers, and has a thing called Scatter Day, where it's his favorite day of the week, because he sends the interns out and will torment them by shooting arrows at them or unleashing his monsters at them to watch them scatter. And he calls it Scatter Day. It was hilarious. I know a lot of people have given it, are loving it, and others are giving it a real bad rep because they're like, oh, the writing's atrocious. It's just supposed to be funny, though. Come on. Don't go into it thinking weird. And the fact that, she goes on to her own inner monologues, and like she will like think the same thing sometimes. Who doesn't? Who doesn't have a thought stuck in their head that they can't stop worrying about? So I like the book. And our last book of the week is a nonfiction. It was called Decluttering at the Speed of Life by Dana K. White. And I read this one because I've started listening kind of to a podcast to try and, get the house under control, because yeah, I will hold on to things. So, I was just like, okay, I'll fit in my nonfiction of the quarter now, because I don't think I read another one before then. And it was interesting. I don't really want to rate nonfiction books. So, it might help if you have clutter problems, or motivate you in whatever task you're trying to do. I could relate to a lot of the things she said in the book, though. Alright, and now the part that everybody's probably been waiting for is the giveaway winner for October's Dark Academia box. I'd hold it up, but it's over there, so we're just going to go ahead and hit the spinny button. Okay, so have everybody who commented in the video or on the photo. I think I really messed up with the photo, guys. I didn't specifically say that was the photo. So my bad. My bad. But our winner for this box is Iselin. I think I said that right. I will put your thing here. Microphone is being occupied by other apps. Oh, sorry. Okay. I will put your name here in case I said it wrong. I'm sorry I laughed. It's just, I know you're also the one that commented about, well, what's the book gonna be? So yeah, we will talk about that. Just message me over on Instagram, and that way I can get the information of where to send it to. So again, congratulations to Iselin. And by the way, the Foxglove edition came in the mail the other day, so I will be opening up the Belladonna Foxglove giveaway later this week. Something. Timelines are hard. Timelines are hard. So whoever loved those books, you can have special editions. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'd love to know what you read in September and how much you enjoyed, whichever one was your favorite. How's your October going? I finished 3. So yeah, we're going kind of slow. I don't know what's happening. But I'm enjoying them mostly. Yes? Yes. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, finding something great to read, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.